Hi, thanks for spending some time with me again today. It's getting toward the end of the semester, and to be honest with you, we're all getting a little fatigued. But I just want to take a few minutes today to make this little video and go a little bit deeper into some of the exercises we were doing in Schlossberg. I think I did number 31, 2, 3, 4, but I didn't really get into number 34 very deeply last time. So I want to mention that today and work on it a little bit. Now, there are a lot of things that go into playing these exercises, and you know that if you've been really, working to try and improve your playing, you realize how complex what we do is. As a matter of fact, it's so complex that we can't consciously manage it. It has to be done almost unconsciously. And yet we have to become more and more aware, more conscious of what our body is actually doing without interfering with our own physical intelligence. And anything that's high-level sports activity is the same thing, whether you're trying to hit a baseball at whatever level. Even professionals go into a slump, for example, and I remember Big Papi here in Boston going into a slump for several months where he was the designated hitter, was not performing up to his expectations or the expectations of the fans. And that puts a lot of pressure on you, and the pressure doesn't really help. So I hope that when you're doing these exercises, you can give yourself a little vacation from that kind of pressure. Don't put it on yourself. Just enjoy the sensation, enjoy the sound, and enjoy discovering as much as you can. I think that'll help you going forward. So today we're going to do what I call raising the bar, and it's built into the Schlossberg exercises. And I do a lot of that myself, so I'll show you in a minute. I'll show you some crazy stuff. So first we have these very simple slurs, not necessarily easy, but simple. And you want to lay down that foundation first. So when you're playing something like 33, I just raised the bar. I did it slowly so I have time to anticipate where I'm going next, hear it, feel that my air is ready and my embouchure is ready for the next note. We should always be feeling where we're going next. And that felt pretty good, so I decided to speed it up. Well, that's exactly what he does in number 34. First he says slow, puts it in 6/4. And then all of a sudden we're in 6/8, and then we're in what? 2/4, but now he's in a 16th note triplet rhythm. So all he's done here is take the same exercise and just make it a quicker gesture. I like to challenge myself, so what I do is I find out what I can do comfortably, and I try and get in the groove with that. And then I raise the bar a little bit and see if I can still do it. Now, my problem is that I tend to raise the bar too far, and now I can't get over the bar, so to speak. And we're talking about like high jumping, right? I raise that bar a little too far. Now I got to put it back down again until I can clear the bar and do it with confidence. Now I'm building something. What most players do is they go too fast in the direction of something that's more difficult. I know, it's fun. I do it all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you have the humility, one might say, to back it up, clear the tension out of the system, enjoy the process, get in a good frame of mind. Think about the satisfaction that you can have when you hear that sound and that feel that you want in playing, and then put the whole package together. Then go ahead and raise the bar again, but don't do it too fast. A good way of measuring this is if your percentages are too low. Let's say, and this is just a suggestion. I don't know whether it's going to work for you, but the proportion should be something like, if you have 70% success, and success is up to you to determine. Success can be, I didn't miss a note. See, that's like base level success, fundamental accuracy. Success could be I maintained the perfect quality of vibration as I shifted from one note to another. I love the sound of my voice on the instrument. Okay, that's a high target to aim at. Can you maintain that? If let's say I'm working on that, just keeping the beauty in the sound and keeping the sound consistent. And this sounds really picky. It is. See, you're deciding how, quote unquote, how high you're going to raise the bar. In other words, how strict that target's going to be. Are you simply throwing the ball to get the feeling of throwing and just throwing it without even aiming at a target? Or are you trying to, hit the side of the barn with the ball? Or are you trying to hit within the strike zone from 90 feet away? Or however far away the bag is from the plate, I'm not sure. At any rate, it's how small you make that target. That's a big part of raising the bar. So, in the next exercise, first he says slow, 6-4, and it's the same kind of exercise we were just doing, only now it's an extension. So we went dee da 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 da. So now it's da, and on all these exercises, what makes it challenging is changing direction while maintaining our balance. So that's what we're going to work on. Now, there are a lot of things that were not as close to the target as I wanted. I was executing it. If I were playing that in an ensemble, no one in the audience would know that there was any problem. That reminds me of a phrase we used to use in the BSO quite often. Get to the end of a concert, kind of look at each other and go, well, we fooled him again. Which means the people, the conductor, or even our colleagues in the orchestra, or certainly the people in the audience, wouldn't realize that we weren't as close to the target as we wanted to be. No, they can't tell from where they are, but we can tell. So that idea of a more precise target, or the idea of raising the bar, is really important. Now, we're going to go crazy a little bit. What he does next is now he puts it in a smaller note value, which implies a quicker tempo. So if we're going, see, I was already going faster because I always play everything too fast. I should practice what I preach. So if we go to the next one, the third line in number 34. I'm trying to remember it, and I'm kind of stuttering in terms of the time, which is not a good thing, but I gave myself permission to keep the ear spinning, keep the sound going, take a little time out where I figure out, oh yeah, where am I going with my ear? So a strong recommendation that I have for you is play by ear. It seems very simple, but if you take an exercise like this, play it in all keys and memorize it. If you can't memorize it, go back and look at the notation and see if you can find it with your ear. Then as soon as possible, as soon as you're having a fairly high percentage of success, and that's the yardstick you're gonna use to judge. Do I have 70% success, 90% success, 10%? 10%, you need to reduce the difficulty a lot until you can come back and have 60, 70% success, which means more satisfaction from what you're doing, more enjoyment. If you're just beating yourself and you're not having success, what this does, unfortunately, and we've all done it, is it actually is a kind of what you might call aversion therapy. In other words, you start to hate playing the trumpet because you're forcing the issue. You're fighting and making yourself do something that your body really doesn't enjoy and doesn't want to do. Now, we all find ourselves in that position at one point or another. You got to get the job done, especially if you're a professional. And we have some pride. We want to feel like we left it all on the field, so to speak. That's good. That's a warrior attitude, and you need that. But when you're trying to build something, as in your maintenance practice, you want to be a little bit more kind to yourself than that. Allow yourself to enjoy it. That's what it's all about. And then we bring that enjoyment to the music, and then other people can enjoy it. Now, I sped it up again. I'm going to speed it up again and maybe play it at a different pitch level. Now, I played it wrong, so now I slow down, and I think through until I have, what is the pattern? It's a pretty simple pattern. To hear the intervals. Da, da, that's a fourth, and where's tonic? Dom, so it's a C, that's what I'm playing right now, it's a C. Da, 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 a third, da, da, da. So I have some octaves. I'm starting on the fifth. I'm going up a fourth to the tonic, down the octave, to the third, ya, da. Now, that sounds very elementary. Yeah, it is. But if you can't have success with it and play without looking at the music to remind yourself what the notes are, you're not really cultivating the most fundamental ability of a musician, which is to hear the music. It should be in your mind. You should hear it before you play it. Any jazz improvisationalist knows this. It's a stream of consciousness thing where you're reacting to your environment and you're following the muse, so to speak, which is why we call it music. It's coming from somewhere, and this idea is flowing through you in a dynamic manner, and that's, wow. See, that should be the case with exercises too. And it can be if you're playing by ear. It's so, so important. I tell all my students, this is an exercise I give to my students. You can try it. I strongly encourage it. Play Happy Birthday. So if I was playing a B flat trumpet, which I'm not, I would start on a G. So I'm playing a C trumpet, so I'm going to start on an F. That's the original key. Now, as you're doing that, you know whether you're confident of what the next note is. Probably you can hear it. That's the first step. If you can't hear it, you work with the piano, play it on the trumpet, try and memorize the taste of the notes, as it were, recognize those interval relationships, basic ear training stuff. If you already are really good at that, now you're ready to just play it in all keys. And that's an exercise that I give to my students, and almost no one does it. But if you just do that, that's what all the great jazz players did. Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, those guys who invented bebop, they were playing everything in all keys, and they were blowing other guys out of the water because, some guys could only play in flat keys. They had cut what? Because they hadn't exercised themselves for this. Oh, speaking of exercise, let's get back to the actual exercise. So he then puts it in triplet sixteenths, and it's the same idea. I'm going to try it, let's see. See, I'm stumbling a little bit. So what I'll do is stop and see if I can play it in my mind. I'm not playing it on the trumpet anymore. And if I'm not confident, if I'm not sure, I don't know what the fingering of the note is. A lot of these things are lip slurs. You could be doing it with alternate fingerings. But if I can't hear the note first, and if I don't know the proper, if my body doesn't know what to do, if I'm confused about what to do next, I need to slow down and practice mentally, then go back to the trumpet for reference, try and sing the intervals. This is why sing, buzz, play is so important. When you're singing or buzzing, you have to hear the notes that you're trying to play. This to me is basic musicianship, and yet I encounter many, many people who don't do this. We play in ensembles a great deal, and we play with music in front of us all the time, and somebody else telling us what to do with his gestures, body language, and facial expression. That would be the conductor. And actually, you need to be the conductor. So you're determining your own expression of the music, your own timing and so forth. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that are a little bit, pushing it over the edge. So I have a pattern. You recognize it. If you're getting bored, you're not enjoying, you're not seeing the picture. What is it? All you're doing is playing a major arpeggio with the decoration. Very, very simple. If you can hear those big underlying, kind of like the bones of the music, it makes it much, much easier to play. Now I'm having fun. So I can play it and it's enjoyable. Now I'm going to make it more difficult for myself. I'm going to make the target more precise. I'm going to raise the bar. I'm going to make it more challenging. How am I going to do that? I'm going to try and do it faster. Now, when I go faster, this is a lot like, for those of you who drive, some people on the pike here in Massachusetts think that they're capable of driving safely at 100 miles an hour, even though the speed limit is 65. Now, almost everybody exceeds the speed limit, and be that as it may, don't do it unless you want to, pay the fee. But the faster you drive, the fact is, the faster you drive, the more dangerous it is. Why? Because everything that you're doing has to be much more precise, because any mistake gets amplified. And that's when you start getting inaccuracy in your playing. You get this, you lose the sound, your body starts to tighten up, so now you're not in a good place physically. You're starting to go off the center of the notes. You might have response problems. You know what the problems are, because we deal with this all the time. So again, our job is to reduce the level of difficulty and then raise it again. So it's like an ebb and flow. So I just tried to make a fast motion. My target now is becoming much more precise. I'm trying to find the exact sweet spot of the note, the place where the air is absolutely even throughout, and I'm getting the easiest vibration of my lips and the most overtones coming out of the horn, the most qualities in the sound, the most depth in the sound. And to me, that's a very small target. The better you get at hitting that small target, the bigger the target seems, right? This is like, you'll hear an athlete, like basketball players, working with that target, the basket. And they'll say, man, tonight the basket just looked really big. That's what we're talking about. That's what you're trying to cultivate, is that sense. Not that that target is so small that it's you can hardly see it. No, it's that it becomes bigger. In other words, more clear and more obvious in your mind. Crazy example of this. Have you seen the video where LeBron stands at the full court length away, and then throws the ball over his shoulder behind him and makes a basket on the opposite end of the court? That's like insane. Until you realize what he's doing is demonstrating the human capability. Yeah, not everybody can do that, and most of us couldn't come too close. But see, this is what should inspire us. It's like, wow, that's not impossible. A human being can do that. That's amazing. That's cool. Maybe I want to do that. And then the question becomes, are you willing to go through this procedure I've been talking about in order to cultivate those things for yourself? If you are, then you're probably a player. And then all this stuff is going to be applied to music. Now, the longer you maintain speed, the more difficult it gets to do that. So if I try and go, like that because I'm pushing my level of control. It's a little bit jittery. I still don't know it well enough in my ear. You see, wait a minute, if I look at the music, I'm not going to make any mistakes. I can play it 100 times and never make any note mistakes. That's interesting. If you think that not playing wrong notes is your main goal, then you kind of have things backwards. Your main goal is the greatest enjoyment and the greatest beauty in the sound and the greatest expression possible. Control comes from aiming at that beautiful musical target, and that's what you want to keep remembering as you're practicing these. So have fun. Now, we haven't done anything with dynamics yet, so I'm gonna reiterate a little exercise that I do. I use this all the time, and incorporate it now into the pattern that we're working on here. Now I've lost the target of my relaxed, easy airflow. When I put a fermata on those notes, I'm sustaining that sound, and it's stable. The note's not moving. My ear is moving, but the note's not moving, right? And now I can listen to my body, and I can listen to the sound in the room, and say to myself, am I in the bullseye? Have I hit the real target that I'm aiming for? And it could be just that sweet spot in the sound. That's one of the best possible things you can work on. So I'll give you a couple thoughts on the next exercise, number 35. And this is the same idea. All this is a major arpeggio. But this is something that most trumpet players have significant difficulty with. And that's because we're ascending in range, and there's a tendency to produce squeezing and choking and pressing and all manner of unnecessary tension. So here's the exercise. Very, very simple. Not hearing the note. So now I'm straining a little bit. I'm managing it. I can play the notes. I can make it happen. This is the exercise. I don't want you to strain. I want you to find that new level and then rebalance your entire system. Now, we'll get into this in more depth when we look at each of the individual components, and that would be, the optimal coordination of your breathing system and how to develop that. The specifics of embouchure coordination and how to develop that. Your posture and how that affects everything that you do. These are the details. This is what you might call the nuts and bolts. Now we're trying to put it together with our machine operating as best as possible, but we can only play as well as we can play. That's the bottom line. And you can exceed it in your imagination, but you actually have to build it into your body. So when I'm doing that exercise, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it one pitch level down. Some work. You're sustaining for a long period of time. And what am I working on? Balance. Balance. So yes, the effort required increases, but the balance doesn't change. You want to find that same balance no matter where you're playing in the range, the pitch range, no matter where you're playing in the dynamic range, and no matter what you're doing with articulation. So I could take this simple arpeggio with that one step up at the top and turn it into an exercise where I'm, with simple variations, where I'm challenging myself more and more, or making it easier and easier for me to do. So keep your targets in mind. This is up to you when you practice. It's entirely up to you to decide what is your target. And for this one, I'm suggesting physically easy, comfortable flow with follow through, with the support that carries that tone, and then learning how to let go of unnecessary tension and let that place on your lip vibrate as freely as possible. That's all we're doing here. And when we're not doing that, we can feel it and we can hear it. And that's where all the work is getting it to go in that right direction. Now, as soon as I have things sounding good, back to the same idea. See, I'm still wondering what note to play next sometimes. That means I don't know it well enough. So I have to be honest with myself and go back and do that work. And this is for real. This is all this stuff is for real. Work it through the keys and you'll find tremendous benefit from this. But there is, you can tell, you're going to have to invest some effort, and especially mental effort in this. Hearing what it is that you intend to play is one of the most important things you can do. Okay, as usual, I crammed way too many things into one video. And I hope you're beginning to see how much is actually in this book when you think about it as a preparation for cooking the good food that we make when we play any kind of music. You have to have good ingredients. This is creating the ingredients. So go and get to work on that and enjoy that process. This is what gives our lives meaning, is enjoying the process of creating beauty. Okay, I'll meet you later on, and hopefully you'll be in a good mood when we get together next time. See you down the road. Bye-bye.